All right, everyone. It's another Friday, which means it's another Q&A with Alan and Marshall. I'm Marshall Atkinson.
And I'm Alan Howe.
Hey, how about that? We both know our names.
We know our names. So, Marshall, let's compare. What's the weather there?
I don't know.
You're
Today, what is it? What does my phone tell me? Currently, it's 58 with a high of 80.
We're in the 40s. So, yeah, a little cool for you guys. Well, we're in the 40s. It's only going to get into the 40s.
Well, let me put it this way. It's currently 74 degrees in my office like it is every single day.
Yeah. It was cold today. That's why, of course, I have the jacket on. I had just a T-shirt, so I put a jacket on.
Yeah.
God forbid I turn on the heat up more. It's like, no.
Right. So anyway, here we are. It's another Friday, and I've had a good week. Lots of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Talked with lots of people. There's a lot of things going on. It's going to be really interesting next week in particular, and we're not going to get into it, but you know what's going to happen next week. So, but I think that's going to be just kind of an interesting thing, right? What's going to happen? Who knows, right? So, I would like to talk about some things that we're going to get into later. But why don't we go with
47 degrees, high of 53 here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So it's not snowing yet.
What's that?
It's not snowing.
No, it's not snowing yet. Thank God.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's get into some stuff that we want to talk about. So today, I do want to share that I have a new article out, right? And I think this is relevant because we should be thinking about next year right now, right? So it's November. Congratulations. You made it to November. This year is really blown by.
Yep.
And so let me share my screen real quick. Here it is. So this just came out this week. So I wrote this article for the Apparelist. It's called 12 Economic Planning and Forecasting Areas to Tackle, right? And as a consultant, as somebody goes to trade shows, as somebody who speaks with, I don't know, 6 shops a week, I get asked a lot of stuff. And so what I did was I threw it all into this article with some ideas about what you should be thinking about, because 2025 is just really a stone's throw away.
Oh, yeah. It'll be here before we know it.
Yeah. And so what I did is I just kind of did an amalgamation of some shops. And so this article talks about a fictional shop, which is Lizard King Graphics, which is owned by Jimmy Morrison, which is throwback to the Doors. Come on.
James.
And so I kind of just did some stuff about a shop, which is kind of maybe like your shop, right? And then what do we tackle? Industry trends, smaller orders, bigger challenges. Everybody's doing that right now, right? Nobody's getting big orders. They're doing smaller orders. How do we do it, right? The next thing is age of AI. What do we do with AI, right? And so it's really about using ChatGPT. And of course, I want to talk about Midjourney, so I throw that in there, right? But we could also use some AI for, image prep, a whole bunch of stuff, right? Number 3 is focusing on value, not the price, right? So what can we do to get more customers to pay us more money, right, is really about getting better customers, right? So if you've got customers who are nickel and diming you, maybe you're not talking with the right people, right? So this part of the article talks about that. Next part is about operations, being effective. To me, being effective is better than being efficient. Being effective means that you're doing the right things, right? Being efficient just means you do things quickly, right? Yep. So you can print a lot of shirts incorrectly really fast, right? But how do we do it right off the bat, right? Then we got balancing talent and labor. We got e-commerce. We got financial planning, which is super important. Prepping for the uncertainty because we don't know what's around the corner. diversifying your supply chain, and then there you go. That's it, right? So this is really just kind of like, oh, excuse me, I got more sustainability, sales, about relationships, and then lastly, collaborating, right? So
Yep.
the idea here is these are some ideas, and I put them in the mindset of like a fictional shop, just so it's kind of more relatable, right?
Yep.
So, Alan, take one or two of those points. What do you think about what people should be really thinking about right now to get ready for next year?
Well, like you, I get asked a lot of times the same questions over and over, no matter what. It is about technology. Now, of course, in the workspace, it's in the production end, mostly screen, but it is in the workspace. One, you have to be updating technology. Sometimes that starts with your shop management programs, and you have to be looking into that. How does that work with your CRMs? How does that work with your front end? But also, what are you doing? Because it's still, and it will be, no matter what happens next week or this week, it still will be all about labor. And what are you doing to continue to do things more consistently automated? That's not to get rid of people, but that is to actually make it more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the screen room, are you looking at autocoders? Are you looking at direct to screen units? Are you looking at if you're still not using a pre-registration system? Oh my gosh.
How come people don't use that?
Don't know.
I'll tell you the reason why is because Joe, their printer, he's spent 20 years, doesn't like it. And the reason why he doesn't like it is because it takes his skill out of the equation, which makes
100%.
him special.
Yep.
Because if anybody can register screens on press, why are you paying me more money?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so they're afraid of that. And I know people who've sabotaged the Trilock or whatever, saying, hell, it just doesn't work or whatever, because they don't want the catcher to know how they do it. Yep. Because they're scared about their job. And this really affects cross-training and all that kind of stuff, right? So what we need more that I'm just throwing it out there, Trilock works. The PRU system works. A lot of this stuff works, okay? If it's not working for your shop, is it because of your people? Is it because other things that you're not doing in your shop to make it work? So you have to look at this stuff, right?
Aside from the labor issue,
that's really important.
Yeah, aside from the labor issue and things like you just said, you're 100% right. Whether it's a PRU system, whether it's a 3-point registration, they all have them now on there. It is a redundancy factor. Joe might be able to register there, but what if Joe is hit by a bus? I hope that doesn't happen.
Joe says, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're not talking about you, Joe.
Wait a minute. Not you, Joe. But you know what I mean? What if XYZ employee says, no, I don't need that. All of a sudden he's gone. We live in an uncertain world. He takes another job. He's out sick, whatever. It is about redundancy. Yeah. And you have to have that because you want your business to still go. So it's still the same things. When it comes to, it's the small things too, Marshall. How many times do I tell people you don't have an emulsion problem, you have an exposure problem? Well, how do you know? Well, there's this little tool. Are you measuring it? Stop guessing.
Yeah.
Maybe your emulsion's fine. Maybe your light source just is ridiculous. If you are still using, fluorescent tubes, you might have some issues. Stop trying to use fluorescent tubes with no vacuum and do water-based ink. Stop it. It's just like, oh my gosh. Could you do it? Sure.
Yeah.
Can you do it effectively, efficiently? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is this. And so one of the shops I was in Indianapolis, we were talking about this. And they said, well, when we slow down, I go, when is there ever a good time? You guys are growing. There's never a good time.
There's never a good time. You have to carve the time out and do it.
And I use it's like eating an elephant, one thing at a time. Make your list. Start doing it.
Yeah.
So you have to keep doing these things.
Right.
And upgrading. You can't just say, well, it's been working so far because we're just kicking the can down the road. Now you're like our government. Well, on anything. you know, yeah.
Right. So let's do this. So let's say hello to some folks. And so if you're watching right now, throw in the comments, what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge or your biggest thing you're looking out for, or the biggest impact driver for your business next year? Let's get you guys involved in the discussion here.
Absolutely.
Right? So Frank's here. Say good morning, Frank. Good seeing you. Our buddy Sean's here. Ray's here. Greetings. Dan's here. He's in. And then Ray also said 90% of shops, labor is not actually the highest cost. It's combined scrap rate, incomplete overhead cost calculation, and poor efficiency are actual higher costs than labor. Well, it's because some of the stuff you do is really super expensive printing.
Yeah, and we have to say, so Ray Greenwood actually works in the electronics industry, so some of those inks are anywhere from $400 per half ounce.
Yeah.
Right. On up. So scrap rate and all that. And that's another thing, you know, Marshall, you talked about, even in textile, what's your scrap rate? What is your loss on there?
Yeah.
That is all part of it.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
And then Dan says, other things people say about Trilock is that it doesn't work all the time. Fact is, it does work 100% of the time. They or their press doesn't make it work 100%.
100%. Yep.
Exactly. And then Sean says that for next year, he wants to actually start asking or working on referrals.
Perfect.
That's right. That needs to be part of your sales process where it happens all the time. In fact, you could even just set up a drip marketing thing, right? It doesn't have to be you doing it. You could have, a thing where after the order ships, 5 days after that, either there's confirmation, they get an email asking for a review or, whatever, right? And you could get that set up as a drip. And that way you don't have to remember, it just automatically does it.
Yep. Perfect.
So anyway, to me, I think it feels like the number one thing that people are looking at is smaller order, print on demand with DTF, right?
100%.
That just feels like a lot of the questions I get, a lot of the things that are doing, a lot of the stuff when I go to a trade show, right? That's really what a lot of the discussions are about.
Yep.
And then it's not saying that screen printing is not going away. It's just that the orders seem to be catering to smaller things, more print on demand, more in your face kind of stuff, taking advantage of things.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's what a lot of people are looking at. I don't know if that's the case for you guys, but I do know that that's a considerable part of my day is answering and asking questions about that. So,
and Marshall and DTF, you're 100% right. We figure 7 to 12% is probably going to DTF on small orders. Now, what's happening is as those people are growing, because they're going smaller orders, those orders are starting to grow more and more, and people are finding out, going, wait, that customer ordered 25 is now ordering 50, now ordering 75, now 150. Now it's going back to, now it gets to a point of when is DTF not there.
Well,
So
we've got equipment now, right?
Yep.
Where you could quickly heat transfer the DTF because Rock has their impress or whatever it's called, right? Yep. You can do 400 shirts an hour with DTF, and they've got automation built in that takes the paper off and does a bunch of stuff, right? And so it's very interesting. I don't know if I'm not quite sure if every single shirt's different.
Yeah.
Different design, different color, whatever. If that's the tool to use, I don't know. Somebody answer that for me. I have no idea. But I think if you've got a longer run with doing transfers, that this could be a good mechanism for you.
It could be, but then the ROI cost on that might be for the normal shop on it. But what I'm saying is you still have to be ready. Remember, we're going back to the old DTG, that you're not a screen printer. You're not a DTF guy. You're not an embroidery guy. You are a decorator.
You're an entrepreneur first.
Absolutely. And you have to look and say, what is that? I was doing DTF. This guy was all DTF. 200 shirts? I'm not going to do that and take up the time on DTF. It might be looking setting up the press. And that's when I'm starting to see a little bit of that trend happening. Of coming back, which is a good thing because those customers you've been servicing are now growing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hey, look, Beppy's here.
Hey, Bepp from Italy.
Good seeing you, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping on.
Ray says,
Beppe Quegla, we
right?
got to tell people don't know Beppe Quegla is the owner of Virus Inks, water-based inks out of Italy. He's also in the academy with Marshall and myself.
And Ray and Richard and Dre and like a host of other people that are way smarter than us.
Myriad of people that are way smarter than me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So Ray says, if you have crappy screens, try like other registration systems only work in a limited fashion. You can get the screens registered, but mesh distortion at off contact will misregister you for you. Exactly. Awesome. So it's not that the system, it's not that Trilac's not working, is that the ingredients to bake the cake are wrong.
Yep.
Right. So Joe says the biggest roadblock in DTF is the time it takes to print and cut.
100%.
Well, they also have automatic print and cutters, right? Yep. So there's ways around that, right? So,
but all that has to factor into labor and stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah,
not about just putting a square peg in a round hole and making it fit. You have to factor all that in, but you also have to look at technologies and what is the best fit.
Yeah, exactly. Dan says our biggest hurdle is figuring out a way to operate, endure the slow repairs while taking out loans. So far, so good, but it's a familiar struggle. Every year, same time, same thing, teetering on balance of getting out those slow humps or failure, waiting for just enough growth to be able to save up for these slow times without pulling from personal income sources. So here's the thing is, what are you doing to solve that?
Yeah.
I'd like to know. So if you know that the end of Q4, the beginning of Q1 always sucks, right? What are you doing to set that up so you don't have that problem, right? There's many things you could be doing, right? You just have to figure that part out, right? And that's the same for, a shop, right? So there's people who buy stuff during this time or do stuff during this time. Are you involved in that or not, right? That's kind of the interesting thing.
Right.
So, because there's plenty of shops that this is their busy time of year, right? January is their busy time of year because that's what their business is based on. So what you got to do is you just have to figure out, how do I do that? What do I do?
Yep.
Anyway, so very interesting, guys. What else do you see we should be focusing on next year, Alan?
Well, I think they need to also look at too, if you have those slow times, you maybe need to look at what is your market that you're doing. What is another market you can start expanding into in those? Maybe if it's all seasonal work or certain seasons, that because of the market that your niche is in, that's great. But if you have 3 months of December, January, February, maybe this is a time to start. What do I need to do to fill that in?
Yeah, well, for you, like because he's a separator, right? Can you take that time where you're not doing work and then maybe build your own, course on how to separate or how to use Photoshop or whatever, and get out of doing stuff just for this industry and look at everybody at what are the tools that you could teach people, how to do color correction, how to do different things. Can you do something out there that's going to make an impact with other people, right? And I think because we're so focused on this industry, sometimes I think we forget that there's other people doing other things everywhere else.
Absolutely.
And look, hey, Richard's here. Hey, Richard. So anyway, I also think something that I still think is rearing its head is the whole notion of sustainability. So I know this doesn't get a lot of press sometimes, but how can we do more with less waste, right? And of course, everybody focuses on going green and all that stuff, right? But just being more sustainable means you can operate at a lower financial cost. So it's really good business. It adds up to more profit if you start looking about deploying a sustainability program in your shop. That might be something that you could really work on for next year. And this is from a a process standpoint about how you do the work that you do. This is also from a facility standpoint for your building. This also could be how your people are trained in the decisions that they're making, right? And just think about every single time you do any rework, that's not sustainable. Every single time that you use more of one product, right? Maybe that's not sustainable. Sometimes you can use less product if you use a better product.
Yes.
For example, if you're screen printing with just plastisol ink, and you have to hit the thing twice to get good coverage, that's a Band-Aid because something in your process really isn't working as it should, right? And that takes more time. It also takes more ink, right? And so you have less yield at the end of the day, but you're also using more of a product, the ink, to get the same result. So if you take some time to figure that out, that's how you can have a more sustainability in your shop and your process, just by thinking about that stuff and just not letting it just slip by. And that's just the way we do it around here.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, Marshall, especially when it comes to ink. If you're having to hit it twice, if you're having to wipe the back of the screen because of buildup, there is a reason. I always said, and I haven't sold ink in over 10 years, but there was always a reason that the number 1 and 2 inks in the market were always Rutland and Wilflex. And what were the most expensive ones? Rutland and Wilflex. The reason is that they printed faster, they printed more opaque, they ran faster, they did not build up, and it was all about shirts per hour. It was never about gallon.
Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, ink is cheap.
Okay? 100%. 100%.
You know what's not cheap is labor.
Yeah, labor and stoppage is not cheap.
Yeah, so it's like, everybody freaks out about the cost of ink. Yeah. Ink is comparatively speaking to what the cost is for that print is just a minor little part of it, right? It's all the other things that cost you all the money, right? I don't know why people don't focus on that, right? And
the story
was interesting. Earlier today, I was doing my Facebook drive-by, and somebody in there was posting about how they keep getting a lot of pickup, right? They can't, and all the comments were about flashing after every color, right? Yeah. Not a single one was about using higher tension screens.
Yeah. Or a higher mesh count, or
So it's like, why don't people know this? Why are you're doing a Band-Aid to fix the problem and not doing a root cause analysis about what your issue is?
Here's one of the most common problems. When's the last time you've changed or sharpened your squeegees?
Never.
Absolutely. And
I've been using the same squeegee since I bought the press. Why do I need to change it?
Great. And your ink manufacturer says, awesome. Thank you much for the profit.
Right.
I just remember the story Richard Greaves told me, and Richard, I'm going to steal your thunder. He was at a shop down in Florida. He was consulting down there, and he had a great relationship with Rutland. And they sent him a new ink, and he said, sure, I'll put it on there. And they said, do you like it? He goes, no, it's not printing well, yada, yada. And they said, oh, well, you're running it too fast. Slow down your press. And Richard's response was, now, why the heck would I slow down my automatic press?
Yeah.
Change the formula.
Right.
So 100%.
Yeah. So, hey, Brian's here.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
And then Dan says, sorry, not the SEP's business. Our other businesses, custom decoration, DTF, vinyl, screen print, embroidery. My SEP's business supports the other businesses during slower times. We are working towards not needing my SEP business as backup. Okay. Well, hey, Dan, this is what I do for a living. Maybe we should have a call.
I still think
everybody. All right. So Ray says for decades, Newman demoed their white on black, one hit, opaque, soft hand print at every trade show. How come they don't do that anymore? Manual press, no less. We use virtually every ink. It was mainly not about the ink. It was tension and great screen making.
100%.
How come they don't do that anymore?
Yeah, good
cost,
question.
Maybe, I guess.
Yeah. You know what? I think back to Dan's, because it's for his custom. We've met his wife and stuff. We know what they do.
Yeah,
let's look at the market. Why is it slow? You have a couple months where it's slow. That's going to be a market thing, probably.
Well, also, we live in a world where the world is flat. because of the internet. Just
Yeah.
because wherever you live, okay, nobody's buying, but you know what? 100 miles away, they could be buying like crazy.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Or 3 states over or whatever, right? Also, if you look at a market where are they busy when you're slowest and start developing products and ideas that's aimed at that,
Yep.
right? Then you can capture more market share, right? Or just do something different. Like I know people who, they're the top guy in the motocross or German Shepherds or, like whatever, right? They got their own line of clothes. They got their own thing. They got their own little, car racing deal, whatever, right? That's what they do, and they're known for that. And their whole business is built around that. But they also do other things because sometimes those things aren't going on, right? So you can't. To me, as a kind of a business recipe, really don't want to give more than what 20-25% to anything,
Right.
So just look at the types of businesses and the type of customers you have by category as a percentage or a ratio of your total work. What has the most stuff, right?
Yep.
What has the least stuff? Can you develop these other channels to bring you more business? That's what I would be looking at.
Right.
Hey, Karen's here.
Hi, Karen.
Speaking as somebody who does racing stuff. So anyway, so that's a good start. So again, this was all kind of ideas from this article that's in the Apparelist that just came out. And if you're joining late, this is something I shared where I invented a fake shop and I addressed a lot of the things that people ask me all the time about. So I thought it was just a kind of a relevant little thing.
I think it's a great article. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. So, all right, our next topic is what is this one. So last week was Fort Worth ISS. Next week is Graphics Pro Charlotte. So I was at Fort Worth, and I'll be at Graphics Pro Charlotte. So Charlotte is officially the last trade show of the year, I believe. Interesting. I didn't go to any of the DAX stuff because that's not really my customer base. But Impressions and Graphics Pro, I have gone to every show this year except for the Irving, Texas one in January. So very interesting. I've been to all these things, and let me tell you, there's some things that I've learned. You ready?
Go.
What has Marshall learned? Marshall learned that you could have ISS Long Beach where 40,000 people go, or you could have Graphics Pro Philly where it feels like there's only 13 people there. Okay. But I'll tell you what, the people who come to these things are motivated and interested in learning. They're there to solve a problem, whatever their problem is. They're very earnest about it. Some of these people, even these regional shows, traveled for hours or got on a plane to be there because it's less about that area and more about it was a timing thing for them, right? So they wanted to go somewhere and see something next month, and that's why they booked the ticket and went. So I think that was true for all the shows I went to. I always, if you've ever been in a class that I've taught, I always introduce myself and ask where you're from, that type of stuff. And it's amazing to me that I'll be somewhere and then somebody says they're from Canada or they're from Connecticut or they're from Oregon, or whatever, right? And it just doesn't make sense. Why are you at this show? So, I think they should give awards to who came the furthest, because they had that in registration, right?
Oh, yeah.
They know where you're from, so they should do something like you came the furthest. So that means you're the hungriest for the information, right?
I love to do I love doing shows where it was in an area, then all of a sudden somebody would come from Central America, and it wasn't like a Long Beach show where there's a lot of international.
Yeah, right.
It would be just one of these small ones, or they would come from Asia and stuff. It was amazing.
And the other thing that I think is a truism is that most shops go to a trade show once every 3 years ish.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the people who run the shows, they feel like everybody goes every year.
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't.
And so I actually ask people, hey, when's the last show you went to? Right. Now there are people who go to the shows all the time and you see the regular cast of characters, right? And they always go to Long Beach or they always go to Fort Worth or whatever, right? But I think most people don't go. And the other thing that I'll tell you is that there are a lot of people who are showing up at these things and they just started their business, and to them, it's the biggest thing they've ever seen. But to you, it's like, why is this such a dinky show? Nobody's here.
Yep.
So they're marveling at everything because they've never seen it before. They just don't know any better.
Yeah.
Right. And this is their first introduction to everything. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that because, I don't know about you, but I've been going to trade shows since mid 90s, right? I don't know how many I've been to.
Yeah.
Lost count a long time ago. And
my first one was SPAI 1987.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for a long time. So it's just an interesting thing. But I'll tell you that it always amazes me to talk to somebody and they go, "Oh man, this is so crazy."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, well, you haven't really been to a big one." So that's kind of the thing. And I think if you haven't been to a show, if you guys want to comment, did you go to a show this year? Yes or no? And which one did you go to? If you didn't go to a show, how come? Are you going next year? Which one are you going to? Just take a little quick poll, right?
Right.
You'll see me at all of them. So, and the other thing I'll tell you what's really fun is to meet people that watch this show or listen to my podcast or listen to all the other content that I'm putting out there. And it's kind of fun to meet folks and people, say, "Hey, I think I know you because I've been listening to you for years."
Yeah.
Like I have never met them before ever. It's always kind of a fun thing, right? And what's the one thing that they always tell me, Alan?
Where am I at?
Well, that, but what's the other thing?
I can't believe how tall.
Oh my God, I can't believe you're so tall.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, and then usually I go, "Well, I can't believe you're so short." That's usually what I say. So,
I know when we're together.
says, I'm sorry, what?
I know when we're together, they go, "I can't believe how tall both of you are," because I'm tall for a person, but not as tall as Marshall.
Yeah. So Karen says Long Beach this year, and we'll always go to Dax and KC. It's small but close to home. There you go. That's why it's close to home, right? If it wasn't in Kansas City, would you go? Like if it was, let's say, I don't know,
St. Louis,
Seattle.
Yeah.
Right. You can't drive there. You have to get on a plane. Would you go?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wouldn't.
Right. They're very, very reasonable. She just responded no.
No. So anyway, but let me tell you, so the classes, at Fort Worth, they were okay attended, probably normal for Fort Worth. I had two sessions. Both of them had 30-ish people in them. I didn't count. But it felt like a normal Fort Worth class kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people very interested, ask great questions. Of course, after the class, there's 20 minutes of more questions kind of a thing that they couldn't ask during the class or they were embarrassed about it. Right. But a lot of fun. Right. So I think that's something that if you're thinking about next year, I would advise you to go to a show if you're trying to decide about equipment, you're trying to get some education, you want to hang out with colleagues or meet new people. So there you go. Here's something for Brian, because Alan asked why drove 3 hours to Dax. My answer was to see him. Exactly.
Yep, I do remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah. So why do people go to shows, right? And it's not all the time who's got a booth. So
yeah. Yeah, that was you know what, Brian, I really appreciated that because he was texting me because I'm coming over. I want to meet you. I never have. We've seen online. And I was actually leaving that day. So, but he did get there and we got to spend about an hour together and it was incredible.
Good. All right. So what's our next topic? Do you remember?
We have a couple of them. I forget the order.
Our next show is November the 15th because I'm going to be in Charlotte next week.
Yep.
And sad news, sports fans, this is going to be our grand finale, last show for the Q&A with Alan and Marshall.
100%.
It's going to be the final one. It's going to be like that last episode of Sopranos. We're going to listen to Journey, and then it's out. What kind of craziness are we going to do? Probably nothing like that. But, you know, I think it's been a good run. And Alan, do you want to go over why we've made this decision?
It has been a great run. You know, when we started this, Marshall, who knew? We're going on almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna say what I don't know if everybody thinks. We appreciate everybody there. Marshall and I have been beating our heads there. We feel the show's gotten a little stale. And we're not quite sure how to pull it out to do.
We like doing it. Okay. It's just, you know, I just think that it's time to do in a different, we want to do this. We want to do it in a different way. That's what
let's admit it. You travel, I travel. There has been times where like, oh my gosh, doing it live is and not to say we hate it. You do not know what a burden it is sometimes.
Well, you know, even doing it not live, just showing up at the same time,
yeah,
both really, really busy people. It really is hard to do sometimes.
But what we have planned next, I am very excited about. And
what do we have planned next, Mr. Howe?
So we're going to go do a recorded YouTube segment. And this is just not going to be industry focused. We want to hear about the journeys of different people in our industries and different industries. We all know people, Marshall and I, and around, and we can reach out of people that, man, bring excellent information. How did you get to the journeys? How did you become the VIP of the Detroit Pistons? How did you invent the spacers, insulated spacers inside of the windows? These are people I have on my list that I know I can get it. I can get, or at least ask. You know, how did you start your T-shirt business from nothing, and all of a sudden you have a very successful, self-sustaining business?
Yeah. Well, we could have a whole show and not really just do T-shirt folks. Not saying we won't do that. I'm sure we'll be heavily loaded with our friends, right? But we just want to do something different, and I think having as a recorded thing frees us up from a time slot, which is really hard to do, right? And so we're going to still publish. We're still going to do stuff. We'll still have a lot of fun. We're still going to want your input, right? And feedback and questions and that type of stuff. I don't know how we're going to do everything. And frankly, the fun and the scary part is, how do we build it? What do we do? What are we going to do? We have so many questions.
Yeah.
We don't have answers to any of that stuff yet. So
here's my thoughts, how it affects our industry. We always talk about stuff, and sometimes the best ideas, we don't have to, we think our industry is small and it's like that. All industries are the same, and a lot of them go through the same thing. So when we bring other people in outside, that's valuable information.
Well, to me, it's about understanding that, you know, the guy that started a donut shop might have the same problem that you do if you're an embroiderer.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's about hiring employees and training and marketing and whatever, right? They might have solved the problem and you're just using it as a different context, right?
You know what? When someone has an idea and a patent for a product they know will work, but the industry it's in just never wants to hear about it, and he's just consistently doing it, to now it's just $1 billion company. And those are great stories. That is great insights. That is great on growth, on scaling, on management, on everything. And this is the entrepreneur story.
Yeah, right. So Brian says, are we finally getting Alan's podcast? I think this counts.
This is it. Well, I will say, Brian, the idea, Marshall has seen it. I've had it on my whiteboard. This is a big part of it. So it actually is.
Yeah. So we're going to have you as the first guest, just so you can give him crap. Right?
Absolutely.
All right. And John says, been listening for about 5 years and grateful to have you guys. Thank you, John. Thanks for a great show and looking forward to the new format.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is just unreal of the people in our industry and the things that we do. Of course, everybody knows everybody was a musician. Everybody was this. Everybody, did that. But man, the stories, and it is, to me, as someone who's not an entrepreneur much, the stories are incredible.
Right. So, we're not going to have limits. And I think that's going to expand our universe and make it more interesting. And, but what's it's called? When does it publish? What's going on? When is it coming out? We don't have any of that information. Right. So,
make sure you stay in touch with us. Throw our email addresses up there.
We're not going anywhere. So all right.
That's where it is. But November 15th, I'm looking for a great send-off show. Don't know who we'll have on. Of course, we'll probably have Richard on.
Yeah. We have to figure out our final show, what we're going to do. Yeah. That's another whole conversation I'm sure we're going to have. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We hope that you tune in and that type of stuff. Right. So,
yeah. And you know what? We've had a great run. Our sponsorship with GSG was incredible. I never expected that to go for 4 years. That was great.
Yeah, right.
This is, we just sometimes feel like it's going to be time.
Yeah. So let's move on and let's talk about the next thing that I want to highlight here.
Brian Buffka wants to record our intro. I think I'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The next thing that we want. What happened? I quit sharing.
I don't know.
Oh. So the next thing we want to talk about is Shirt Lab Summit.
Yep.
All right. So Shirt Lab Summit is open for registration right now. We would love for you guys to sign up. And this is our 4th time we've done this. And so this year, last year we had a theme, which was the customer journey. This year's the theme is profit. So if you want to learn how to make more money, can I show off a little bit here?
Do it.
Okay. Look at our lineup of speakers, right? So this top row are sales, right? Kevin Baumgart, Mark Coudray, Mark Graham, Justin McKibben, Jed Seifert, Jeremy Parker, Braden Jessen, Melissa Gibson, Aaron Montgomery, and Jenna Sackett, talking about not just sales, but how to get more profitable sales. This is about profit. This isn't just about, hey, we want to close a deal. This is about finding customers that give you more money. How can you work half as hard for twice as much? This is what this thing is about. Okay. So sales is, interacting with customers, closing a deal, all that, right? Next is marketing, which is how do we market to customers that can pay us more? Who do we have for that? Charity Gibson. She's the marketing director for Performa. Brittany Long, Kevin Oakley, my buddy Tom, Adrian Palmer, Amber Massey, Beth Adams. These are all people who are super powerhouses with marketing, right? Then we got production. Who's this first guy? Some guy named Alan.
Yeah.
How did we rope you into this thing? I don't know.
I didn't have a choice. It said, here's what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah. Ross Hunter, Nate Leber, Jesse Martinez, Nicole Pape, Joyce Jagger, our buddy Richard, Eric Campbell, Tony Wavering, all talking about how to make more money in production.
I'll tell you what, if you're a screen printer, Yes, I love Richard. I love Ross. He's a great guy, man. Nate Leber. We had him on early in our podcast. He's a guy you want to listen to.
Oh yeah. And so and here's the thing is we brought in a lot of people, right? So Eric and Joyce, they're embroidery experts. They're talking about embroidery.
Yep.
You know,
amazing.
Jesse Martinez, he's an expert on ink, you know, Matsui. He works for Matsui, you know. So this is how can we make more money in production? That's what this group of speakers, that's 9 people doing that. Then we have type of customer. So who should you be talking to, right? Who are the different customers and how do you figure that out? So we have Allie, of course, Dave Connor with Stalls, our buddy Davis, Adam Tanaka, and Jason Peters, right?
Incredible.
So these are people who've got a lot of experience with that. And then we've got type of work. So this is DTF, embroidery, DTG, whatever. I get asked every day, should I buy an auto? Should I, you know, I just got asked that yesterday. Should I buy an auto? And then I'm like, okay, let's go through the numbers. You know, because they're a 2-manual shop. I got asked yesterday, should I buy an auto? I go, okay, well, let me ask you this. How often do you have to have overtime to get all the work out with your manual? And they go, never. I go, well, why would you buy an auto? Because you're going to be able to get all your work done in the first hour of the day. What are they going to be doing the rest of the day?
Yep.
So type of work, right? Me, Zach Dewhurst, Sean Kirkpatrick, Justin Leader, Todd Downing, Josh Ellsworth, Joe Orton now, right? And these are all very numbers-driven guys proving you need a business case for this type of decoration. That's what we're talking about, right? So this is all about profit. Now, here's the thing. This is absolutely free. So each of these 5 categories, we filmed 3 questions each, okay? So for free, you get each of the categories for the first video. If you upgrade for $37, you get the other 10 videos. So you get a total of 15 videos, but there's also the written transcription of every video. Plus, we did a how-to profit guide that's like 49 pages of information that was written from everybody's talks that you get. So there's a lot of stuff that plus, you know, it's called the All Access Pass. So you can watch this stuff forever. Okay. So, you know, I've had, you know, when I buy my kid lunch, it costs more than $37, right? So anyway, so want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, Jersey Stalls, S&S, Deco, Rock, M&R, Chipley, Equipment Zone, Easy Way, Swag Space, Printing United, Legacy, Livingston, Graphic Source, the crew at Shirt Lab, plus our media partner, Screenprinting, Images, Impressions, Graphics Pro, Apparelist, DTF. I know a lot of people are going to be heading to Print Hustlers, right, which is this weekend, right? This thing, you don't have to go anywhere, right? We'll actually have more people watch this than go to Print Hustlers.
Absolutely.
Okay. Print Hustlers, they're going to have 150 or 200 people, whatever they're going to have, go to this thing. Okay. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of people watch this. Okay. This is about making an impact, direct impact. And I think that's the reason why you should listen and watch this stuff, is because we're showing you guys how to make more profit. Right.
And Marshall, the fact that you can get it for $37, Print Hustlers is what, 600 almost?
I don't know what it is,
but you can get this and you can see it over and over and keep reviewing it and using it as you need it and going, oh, I forgot about that. Well, that is huge.
You know, we have to charge something because
absolutely
we do have costs.
Yeah.
So it's not totally free, okay, but it's a real easy thing. It's a real easy grasp. It's an easy lift to get this thing, okay. And we would love for you to show up, learn from this. And if you've got any questions, you know, please reach out. But here's the thing. If you just look at the people here, right, a lot of these folks, in fact, most of them have done other Shirt Lab talks with us, whether it was a live event or other Shirt Lab summits, that type of stuff. These are people who really know what they're doing, right? we're not asking people who like they're amateurs or don't have a clue. These are the people who are tops in whatever they do, and they're sharing their little nugget, their little thing. And let me tell you, we asked everybody the same questions, Alan. Okay.
Yep.
Nobody answered it the same way. Why is that? Because everybody's got a different background and experience. You know, it's pretty amazing when you think about it, you know.
Marshall, and not to get real religious, but in Proverbs, there's a saying, it says there is wisdom in a multitude of counselors. And right there,
yeah,
you have it.
So just, so you've got employees, you've got a team, right? So they could be listening to this. It doesn't have to be just you, right? And what I really think here is really cool is that you can just have these videos. They can just play in the background, or you can watch them at night on your iPad or whatever you want to do, right? I mean, it's really impactful stuff. And that's what we're about at SureLab. We're trying to make a difference. We're trying to be the top education source because, I think this industry really needs it. Not saying everybody does a bad job. I just think that, we want to make our mark and our contribution where we can. That's what we're about. Okay.
Well, Marshall, you and I see the same thing. It shows that most people are going for education, and we have mentioned this before. Some of the frustration it shows is sometimes the lack of education. And I am so glad that you and Tom and Allie are still focusing on the education, and not just the surface education, good education that people can help build their business that moment.
Mm-hmm.
They can start implementing it right then.
Right. And of course, we have a event guide. We got a lot of stuff that backs this stuff up. Would love everybody to check it out, all that kind of stuff. And if you've got any questions, just reach out to me. Happy to help. Happy to, here's my email right here, marshallatkinson.com. Happy to help with any of this stuff. We want you to get this information. And let me tell you, maybe you don't want to spend $37. The first 5 videos, one for each of these categories, is worth the click.
Yep.
Okay. It's worth the click. So
absolutely.
Anyway, you'll be seeing this in the social media feeds for a bit, right? So for the next 2 weeks, it'll be everywhere. You won't be able to get away from it. You might as well sign up.
Absolutely. Do it.
Okay. And then the last thing I wanted to share is, and I forgot to actually get the thing going here, is the inclusivity book. I wanted to give an update. So we were delayed a little bit with editing. And the final edit just happened, I think, yesterday, and we'll be sending this for layout and to printing. So probably look for this in November. We'd love for you guys to sign up. This is absolutely free. We're going to be selling a printed copy on Amazon, but we're not ready to talk about that yet. But just put your name and email in, and then you'll be able to get a free digital copy once it's released. It's something that I'm really proud of. This book is about how, as a shop, you can solve your labor and manpower problem by looking and giving a disabled person the opportunity for a job and why you should do it, right? And these people can do practically everything in your business. They can run a press. They can be a manager. They can work in your art department. They could work on your website. They could be doing a lot of things. And this is a how-to guide about how to do it. A lot of times you can get government grants. You can get money to help train and pay these people. There's a lot of stuff out there. And I don't know if everybody realizes this, but the disabled community out there is the number one underemployed group in America. Okay. It's not African Americans. It's not Asians. It's not Latinos. It's people with some sort of disability. So what is a disability? It could be a physical disability, like they're deaf, or they're blind, or they lost their leg in a war, or whatever. Maybe they have cerebral palsy. Maybe they've got some other issue, right? Also, it could be some sort of mental issue, like they have autism or Parkinson's, or who knows, right? So there's a lot of things that kind of roll into that, right? But what all of these people have is they want to work. They want a job. They want to contribute, right? And let me tell you, these folks will outwork able-bodied people a lot of the time. Okay. Absolutely. I wrote this book with, there's 4 guys I wrote the book with. Jed Seifert with Stakes, and Vince, also, these 2 guys work for Stakes. Patrick and Tim run Spectrum Designs. And both of these companies, they do a lot in the disabled kind of channels. And so I've been working on this book for a year, and I interviewed them, and the book is based on the interviews that we had and putting everything together and making it relevant so it's easy to understand and implement, right? That's where we've been. This is a complete labor of love. I'm not making any money on this at all. This is not about the money. This is about helping people. Okay. And so would love for you guys to sign up. Real easy to do so. So anyway, so that's what's up. So get signed up for that. Get registered for Shirt Lab Summit. And I guess we'll see you guys in not next week, but the week after that on the 15th for our last show.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went through that like a million miles an hour. So, anything to add to any of that, Mr. Howe?
You know what? I can't wait to read it. I'm going to want a hard copy signed, by the way. Just
yeah. Well, I think we might be able to get you one.
I think I know a guy, hopefully, and I think you know him too.
Yeah. But
you know what? This is amazing because, I've been to Stakes. I've met Jed. I know Allie Banholzer employs people like that, and just some incredible stories. I have clients up in Michigan that do, and I never realized it. And yeah.
So your client in Michigan, that person does what there?
Well, they have a couple people. Mostly it's with head trauma and stuff. And then he started pointing them out. I've seen these people forever, never realized they had an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah. And same thing. We were talking about what you were doing, at Stakes. He goes, yeah, there are organizations. They have coaches. And I know the VP was telling me, he goes, you treat them like regular employees. You sometimes want to feel sorry for them. So he had an employee who got in trouble, and there was a problem. And it was, I don't want to say if it was just you and I, it would have been grounds for dismissal. And he ended up calling his coach going, I don't want to. It's this. He goes, no, what would it be if he didn't have a disability? He goes, it would be grounds for dismissal. He goes, dismiss him.
Yeah. Right.
The coach came in. He goes, you have to treat them just like regular.
So we say that in the book, which is, it's not that are you willing to hire somebody? It's are you willing to fire somebody?
Yep.
Right. And so this isn't, by the way, this isn't charity. We're not being charitable. Okay. What we're doing is we're giving somebody an opportunity to succeed, and it's up to them to take that opportunity and do something with it. Okay. And now you might have to make some accommodations or something because based on wherever they are, right? But you make accommodations for other people all the time anyway, right? If they're short, you might raise up a table, right? Or if they've got an issue with timing, like they drop their kids off at school, maybe you give them an extra 30 minutes to come in, whatever. Those are all accommodations that we do, right? So this is just about making giving somebody an opportunity and make accommodations for folks. And you want to do that for everybody in your company, not just the able-bodied or disabled body, but just everybody.
Yep.
Right?
You gotta treat people like human beings. I love and hopefully I'm not stealing thunder, but Allie Banholzer, who is part of Shirt Lab.
We have a lot of people sharing their little stories in the book, and she's one of them. So
the girl who does all their webpage and stuff, just an amazing story. So
right. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you everybody for watching. And remember, no show next week. The following week on the 15th is going to be our last show. And we would really love for everyone to come and say goodbye. And then we're going to be launching our new thing some undisclosed time in the future. So you'll see and hear all about that once we figure out whatever the hell we're going to be doing.
If you're in Michigan, you might know November 15th is kind of an unsung holiday. It is.
What is it?
It's opening day of deer season.
Oh.
Much of Michigan on the northern shuts down.
Are you going to be out there with a gun and a tree stand?
I do not deer hunt anymore. I did when I was younger. I've gotten a deer. My father did and all that, but I just don't deer hunt anymore. I don't hunt at all. I used to deer hunt. I love small game hunting, rabbit, pheasant, things like that. We called them partridge, but they're actually rough grouse and stuff and woodcock. Right. And I did that when I was younger. I just don't do anything. I pretty much, if I do anything, it's fish. Yeah. But,
I've been hunting before, and what I enjoyed more than hunting was sitting around a campfire drinking bourbon. I'd rather do that than hunt.
There is something to talk about, and there's something about deer camp.
That was the most enjoyable part about the whole thing, was hanging out with the fellas, not actually hunting. Right. So
there are people say, I'm just not into hunting as much anymore, and they still go to deer camp. You know what they do? They cook for everybody while they're gone.
Yeah. Right.
And it's just about that. And that's why I did it. I loved going when I got to go to deer camp with my dad and my uncles. And, it was, there was some drinking. Now, my father was extremely gun safety, that nobody brings alcohol into the woods, and you do not operate a gun under the.
Yeah. I'm not saying.
But there are people did that. I know people have said, no, you're not coming again because of that ever. Yeah. But you know what? It's usually sitting around. You're telling stories. For us, it was playing poker, and it was just a great time.
Right.
Great memories, and so that's a Michigan thing. That's a November 15th is always burned into.
I don't know. Well, I think hunting is a U.S. thing, right? So
it is. And deer camps, no matter what state it is, but November 15th, it's a 15-day season for gun season. It's always that November 15th to the end of the month.
Right. All right, buddy. Well, hey, thanks everyone for watching. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. And until then, see you later. Please sign up for Shirt Lab Summit. If you're in Charlotte next week, I'd love to see you at that show. Come find me, and I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. We'll see you later, guys. Have a great week.